Hey folks, Happy New Year! I'm very excited to be starting this year off with a bit of a twist on my typical videos. In this video, I'm going to take a step back from reviews and do something a little bit different. Today I'm going to toss out my fan casting for the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. I know everyone's very excited to find out who's going to be cast in this thing because we all know whoever it is, A, they're going to get a shitload of money, and B, they're going to be in a lot of movies moving forward. So we'll be seeing these people for a long time. That being said, I hope that Disney and Marvel make some solid choices. My selections are going to be a combination of who I want and who I think Disney and Marvel will end up actually selecting. Some of these choices might be a bit surprising, but hey, that's what's fun about fan casting. So let's go ahead and get to it. For our intrepid leader, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, I've got four main choices. I know John Krasinski is most people's favorite right now, and I think he'd be fine, but I don't think he'd be great. I'll give my choices in order of least likely to most likely. Number 4, Adam Brody. I'll start off by saying this will never happen, but I'm looking at people around 40 years old who fit that Reed Richards physique, and Brody fits the bill. Give him a little muscle, and he'd be right there where we want it. Personality-wise, I don't think he checks all our boxes. He definitely plays more neurotic than just straight-up intellectual, and I'm not sure that he could pull off the controlled leader that we need him to be. That being said, I think Adam Brody would be a fun choice, and I think a lot of people would be surprised by how well he might be able to do. Number 3, Ryan Gosling. Again, this is never going to happen, but with the Fantastic Four, people are going to be expecting some kind of star power. But Ryan Gosling's got the look, and he can definitely pull off the leadership role. The problem here is that Gosling is just, I'll be honest, too sexy. We all know it. Look at this man. I mean, he'd basically just charm the villains into giving up crime, and his powers would be useless. And what kind of movie would that be? Number 2, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, I figured this one was unlikely because I assumed he wouldn't be looking to get into a franchise like this. But A, he's back to acting now after a short hiatus the past couple years, and B, there are rumors now that he actually met with Marvel to talk about who knows what. So, although we don't know what for, it would be interesting to see this be the thing that he went in there for. I think he checks all the boxes from the look to the leadership ability. He's got the star power, and I think he'd do a good job. The only thing I would say is he almost seems a little too compassionate to play Mr. Fantastic. We may need a little bit more aloofness. And finally, the person who I actually think they could and should choose. Number 1, Glenn Howerton. He was already on a short list to play Star-Lord, so Marvel has him on their radar. The look is perfect if we threw a bit more muscle on him. He's proven himself to be a golden god of a small group of misfits. He can play to Mr. Fantastic's arrogance while still being a hero. I honestly think he would be an absolute perfect fit, and I'm going to be disappointed if they don't choose him. Moving on to Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman. I'll be the first to say all my picks are women who are typically blonde. I know that people can dye their hair, and maybe I've been blinded here by the blondness, but that definitely has informed my choices. Also, I'll say it here, I love Emily Blunt, but I do not know why she'd be so good for this role. Because she's Krasinski's wife? I guess I just don't understand what people think makes her the one for this. I think she'd be fine, but people are acting like she's the only choice. But here's 4 more. Again, from least likely to most likely. Number 4, Anna Camp. I don't think this will happen at all, but honestly, she fits the bill. She's got name recognition, but not enough to cost as much as a bigger name might be for Marvel. She's had roles that show her being a huge bitch and also being very sweet, so I think it's possible she could pull this one off. We just have to see. Number 3, Gillian Jacobs. Also very unlikely here, but I think that this would be a fun turn for Gillian. She's a trained actress who has shown a great range and never seems to get a role that could push her to the level that I think she could be at. She directed an episode of Marvel's 616 for Disney+, so there's some kind of relationship there with her and Disney, so maybe they've got her on a radar for some kind of role. I think this one would be a great choice, although I do not see it happening. Number 2, Samara Weaving. Weaving is very hot right now. She's showing up in more and more things and has been in action movies, so she's definitely prepared to put in the work. Disney has a tendency to try and pull hot names for parts, and I think this would do for Weaving what Black Widow did for Scarlett Johansson. The only thing I think that will make this less likely is her age. She's probably a little too young to be playing against any of my castings for Reed, but not so young that it would be a problem, so who knows? I guess we'll see. And for my number 1 choice, Amanda Seyfried. Most of you have probably heard that she was approached for Gamora for Guardians of the Galaxy, but turned it down because A, she didn't want to be in the green makeup all day, and B, I think it's been reported that she didn't think it would be that successful. Well, now we've got a role for her that was more or less sculpted in her image. She's a fantastic actress who has shown versatility and strength and would fit right in with the rest of the crowd. I just don't know that she would be my first choice, but I would be surprised if she's not on at least a short list for Disney. Now let's talk about Sue's little brother, Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. I don't have as many selections for these, and a lot of people are pushing for Zac Efron, so I left him out, although I do think he would be a pretty great choice. So, from least likely to most likely, here are my 3 choices. Number 3, Thomas Mann. This guy is kind of an indie darling who I've seen popping up more and more ever since Project X. And he was in Disney's live-action Lady and the Tramp, so he has some kind of relationship with Disney, and he fits the mold of a young Johnny Storm. He definitely doesn't have much name recognition, and he may not have the classic good looks that Johnny Storm probably should have, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's auditioning at the very least. Number 2, Josh Hutcherson. Now, I love Josh in Future Man, and he's had years and years of acting in all sorts of movies under his belt. He's got name and face recognition, and he seems like a guy who would be up for this role. He's small and goofy, and I think he could play a bit younger than he is and have a great relationship with Tom Holland's Spider-Man moving forward with the franchise. This one would be a lot of fun to watch. But, as the guy I think we'll be getting, number 1, Taron Egerton. Now, this dude is a powerhouse of talent. He's good looking, he's buff, he can sing and dance, he's all over the place. He's proven himself in action movies like The Kingsman, and he's proven himself to be incredibly funny and charming. I will be astounded if he doesn't end up somewhere in the MCU, but I think that this would be a perfect place for him. And to round out the 4, let's talk about Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. This one was tough for me, and the least confident I am that any of these people will be chosen. But let me defend myself through this one. As we all know, this will be a mostly motion capture role anyway, so the chosen actor really just needs to be more voice than anything. So, from least likely to most likely, number 3, Mark Wahlberg. Now, Wahlberg is a Bostonian through and through, and we need a dude from NYC. I know Disney's probably going to try and be super faithful to that, just with Ben Grimm's history in the comics, so that right off the bat may take him out of the running. However, I think he has the looks and skill to be a pre-accident Ben Grimm and to do some great voice work afterward. I'm not going to dig this hole any deeper, but I do think this would be a good choice, so let's just move on. Number 2, Nick Offerman. Now, this one sounds crazy even to me, but if they kick Nick into shape for a bit, he could be a pretty bulky, solid Ben Grimm, and the voice afterward would be great. They'd probably need to add a slight modulation to it because of how sweet and silky it is, but I think he would pull off something great with a character like this. If and when this doesn't happen, I hope someone looks at this down the road and thinks about what could have been. Finally, what I believe to be the most likely choice, Channing Tatum. Tatum has proven himself to be a surprisingly good actor with both comedic and dramatic chops, and we all know he's super jacked. He could definitely pull off the joking side of the thing, and I think he'd be perfectly happy to do the motion capture. And hell, if they went for some practical effects, he'd be pretty great for that too. I could absolutely see this one happening, but if it doesn't, I am interested to see who gets this role most of all. Anyway, those are my picks, folks. Are there any there that surprised you? Any that you think are just terrible? any that you think might be surprisingly interesting. Let me know in the comments and tell me who you think they're going to cast. Thanks.